President Trump, he says, as you heard there, nobody knows what he's going to do, but we can all see this military buildup. What are you hearing from the White House, Kelly, about how close we actually are to a U.S. strike?
Well, I can tell you, Jenna, that no one is speaking for the president's actions except the president himself. You just saw what he said there on the South Lawn when they were actually erecting a flagpole and raising one of the largest flags that we've seen. In addition to that, he spoke again about the situation with Iran and Israel from the Oval Office, to which he clarified his statement that he made earlier, stating that he alone knows the decision that he's making, and he would like to reserve his final decision making that announcement 1 second before it's due. Having said that, he doubled down on the fact that he wishes Iran had made the deal, taken the deal. Remember, he provided them 60 days to make a negotiation for peace. And he stated that there's no way that Iran can have a nuclear weapon. To that end, here we are, and the president is still holding out hope that he can have some sort of diplomacy and diplomatic end, but he's still reserving the right to make sure that all options are on the table.
All options on the table there. Behnam, I'd love to get your take on this. Is Tehran bluffing with its response of threats? And if Iran is preparing for a real showdown with the United States and Israel, can you talk about the limitations of its military capabilities to strike back now after 6 days of the bombing campaign?
Well, great to be with you all. Listen, I think the Islamic Republic understands that both Israel and America are conventional military powerhouses, and the bulk of the Islamic Republic's military and security strategy is designed for asymmetric, if not hybrid warfare, designed to slow an adversary, then push a political resolution more to its own favor. I actually think here where the Islamic Republic excels at crisis bargaining, but is actually, as you see very before your eyes in the news, a very poor conventional warfighter. And what that will mean is that the Islamic Republic will threaten to widen a war, more likely in a bid for leverage. But then once the shooting starts, I do think this is a regime that worries about saving face and pride and is already deeply insecure and feels the need for personal and political reasons, including and up to the views, values, and the legacy of the current supreme leader of Iran, Ayatollah Khamenei, to respond. I mean, this is someone who has been authorizing more overt ballistic missile activity against targets in the region, including U.S. bases, including against Israel, since 2017. So I think very realistically on the table is the Iranian threat of widening the war in a bid to deter and prevent the American entry into the war. But if there is American entry into the war, be it against a nuclear facility or against the political leadership, I think it is highly likely that you will see, for instance, short-range ballistic missile strikes, ballistic missiles that we don't know if the Israelis have hit or not, because the Israelis have been going after the longer range stuff that can actually traverse over 1,000 kilometers and reach Israeli territory. So the Iranians will probably use that shorter range inventory. And it's worth noting that those shorter range projectiles are actually more precise and have greater battlefield utility. So here you're thinking about the entire southern rim of the Persian Gulf, the constellation of countries that have U.S. bases, as well as potentially proxy activity in Iraq and Yemen directed at U.S. military diplomatic facilities in and around them. So I think the Iranians will try to widen the war, and then they'll try to bait and bleed America. But if you had to ask me if America is in and there is an American life lost, I think President Trump might go all the way.
Yeah. Kelly, back here at home, there appears to be a growing divide in the GOP about how involved the U.S. should be in the conflict. We see President Trump, Tucker Carlson even, going against the president. What's the president saying about all of this?
Look, the bottom line, the president is not showing any concern about what Tucker Carlson or some of the people within MAGA or the Republican Party have to say. His base, he states, is still in love with him, probably more in love with him, he added. More in love with him now than they were during the election. And he went on to talk about the fact that his decision has to be made. He's meeting with all of his cabinet members and his national security team. This president knows that he will stand with Israel. To what capacity that means in terms of warfare, we do not know, except he did state today from the White House that if a war is done, it would not be a long-term war.
Israel is hitting what it claims are Iran's nuclear sites. How much damage do we know has been done to Iran's nuclear program? And do you think that that could be a trigger to push Iran to cross a new line or a new threshold?
Well, in so many ways, the Islamic Republic has been barreling past the previous thresholds. I mean, the Islamic Republic is the only country without naval nuclear propulsion, of which you need 60% enriched uranium for, to be producing 60% enriched uranium at home. The Islamic Republic is the only country without first having developed a nuclear weapon. I think the regime is probably thinking about one of two things as it relates to the crown jewel of its nuclear enterprise, and that's Fordo. One is the threat or the potential of taking the feedstock of highly enriched uranium that they have at 60% and moving that to 90% now. That is one big fear. The other fear, of course, is in the event of a strike or in the event of several rounds of strikes, the Iranians may try to divert what's left of their enriched uranium stockpile and try to hide it and make it mobile, and then really increase the threat of loose fissile material to the United States and its partners. So there is a very, very real proliferation threat that can have transnational implications here.
All right, Behnam and Kelly, both, thank you very much.